Thomas Sowell explained visually. Please read the books. Please check out the YouTube videos. But for the people that are not the book reading type, I'm here to break down these concepts with visual aids for learners of all different levels. You can find an American History 1 curriculum done this entire way. Tons of videos. American History 2, Civics and Economics, and then other nonfiction books with quick lessons where I break down these concepts simply with a lot of visual aids. If you have not, please subscribe. Please share the video. Please like the video. I'm done begging for that. Part 2, increasing taxes on the rich. It does not work. I am sorry. Let's get into it. Proponents of tax rate cuts, according to the book that we are going over, they base their argument on the anticipated changes in behavior by investors in response to reduced income tax rates. So the proponents, all they are saying is if you lower taxes, you will change the behavior of investors. Period. The idea here is that if you tax investors less, then instead of hiding their money in tax-exempt locations, namely municipal bonds, they'll pull their money out of there, put it into the market where they can get more of a reward and not have to pay much of a tax. But until you do that, they'll leave their money over in tax-exempt places. You lower the taxes, you can change their behavior. And they'll take that money out of tax-exempt offshore banks, municipal bonds. They'll put it into the marketplace. They'll spend money, and this will increase output in the market. That's what they're saying. None of this, that's it. That's where the proponents in the conversation. Now, the opponents of tax cuts, here's what they're going to say. Now, they attribute to the proponents a desire to see higher income taxpayers have more after-tax income so that their prosperity will somehow trickle down to others, which opponents of tax cuts deny then that will happen. What? Let's slow that down. So what the opponents are saying is that you want to lower taxes. And yes, I've got to do it in that voice. You want to lower taxes because you think that the after-tax income for the wealthy will increase, and their increased prosperity will somehow trickle down to the income of everyone else and help them out. No, we didn't say that at all. The proponents, the people for the tax cuts, never said any of that nonsense. We just showed. This is what the opponents say. This is really what they say. And then they go on to say, but it never trickles down. We never said anything about trickling down. We never said anything about prosperity. The proponents simply said that if we lower taxes, it'll change their behavior. They're more likely going to take the taxes they're going to stop hiding the taxes and use them in the market. And then what happens is what happens. That's what we said. We didn't say so the proponents, this is the proponents' response to this labyrinth of thought. If we lower taxes, then the prosperity is somehow going to trickle down to, who said that? No one said that. You said that. You said that as a straw man. And we'll talk about that in later videos. But you said this as a straw man. But, okay, so let's look at, so first of all, the response of the proponents is, you're a crazy person. What is that? Lowering taxes is going to lead to my prosperity gain, which is eventually going to lead to their prosperity gain, but that prosperity gain never actually happens. What are you talking about? You are a crazy person. The second response is, no, I never said that. The proponents never said any of this nonsense about trickling down. We didn't say trickle down. You said trickle down. We just said it was going to change their behavior. We don't care about anyone's prosperity. If people prosper, great. If they don't prosper, whatever. What we are saying theoretically is if you lower taxes, they're going to change the behavior of investors. They're going to stop hiding their money because you're no longer stealing it from them. Think about this. If you decide to stop stealing someone's money, well, then they're going to go out in the open and spend it. But if the government, keep stealing money from them, they're going to hide their money. That's what we're saying. Nothing about trickling down. Nothing about prosperity. We just want to increase economic output. That's what we're saying. The proponents said lower taxes, you change the behavior. And by behavioral change, we mean Investors are likely going to, instead of hide that money, spend it in the marketplace. And who were these proponents? The proponents at the beginning of the 20th century were the Democrats. The proponents, the people for these tax cuts, were the progressives. The people for these tax cuts were John F. Kennedy. Am I yelling too much? I know you guys said don't yell so much anymore. Hopefully that's not too loud. Is it shocking to you? Is it shocking to you, liberal progressive watching this video? Who are you kidding? There's not a liberal progressive watching this video. They're not watching this video. Maybe you sent it to a friend on Facebook, but they already clicked off a long time. They said, I'm not listening to that crazy guy. He yells too much. Yeah, so the proponents, the people for this, and this is in Thomas Sowell's book. You know what? You don't believe me? Let's get into it. Woodrow Wilson, not probably, the most progressive president ever. Hey, progressives, this is your boy. This is your guy. Now, most of us consider him to be the worst president ever. You can check out Michael Malice. I believe he's going to write about in his new book, whenever that comes out. Probably the worst president ever. No, the worst president ever. But according to progressives, this is your beacon of truth. This is your guiding light. This is the most progressive president ever. What did he say? Well, his Secretary of Treasury says high taxes on high incomes have passed the point of maximum productivity. These high taxes aren't working. Not working, folks. We need to lower taxes so that the money comes back to the market so that we can increase economic output. Oh, well, that's just, I don't know. All right, let's keep on going. Let's look at his other secretary, David Franklin Houston. In 1960, the taxable income of $300,000 or more earners. So $300,000, that's a lot of money today. That's a lot of money in 1960. So let's look at that group of people in 1960 when you look at their taxable income. And then you fast forward to 1918, that taxable income of those super elite, super rich, it was cut in half. Why is that? Why did the really, really rich have half of their taxable income get cut in half by 1918? The answer is they ain't stupid. So 1960, we're just kind of breaking it down here. $300,000, we'll just use that number since they may make more, but we know they don't make less than that. So in 1916, their taxable income was $300,000. 1918, it was only $150,000. Translation, in 1916, the government could steal up to $300,000 from you. But by 1918, the government could only get their hands on $150,000. There was only $150,000 worth of taxable income. Now, that's not because the wealthy were stupid. That's not because these super rich earners lost it all. That's not what happened. They weren't stupid. They were smart. They hid their money. They said, oh, you're going to come take my money? Well, guess what? I'm going to put my money in a legal place where I can legally hide it and keep it from your hands. We're going to put it in municipal bonds. And by law, you wrote the law, government. I know, government, you're trying to steal my money, but you told me, you wrote a law, said, we won't take your money if you put it here. So guess what? I'm going to put it here. And so when you raise the taxes, you start taking people's money, they said, I'm going to put it in a place where you can't touch it. I'm going to find some tax exemptions. Offshore is something that's popular today. And again, there's always all these other tax evasive ways today. But in the book, we're talking about these inefficient municipality bonds. That's where they're going to hide their money. Not a lot of gains from them, but you still get gains, and the gains are guaranteed. But more importantly, the government can't touch it. There it is. You raise taxes and poof. And this is Woodrow Wilson's secretary saying, look, taxes are too high. Half of this wealth that we could use to generate government revenue, half of this wealth, it's gone. We can't touch it now. It's not going to go towards government revenue. And it's not going towards the market. It's just sitting over here. It's not helping the market. It's not helping us. What should we do? Could we possibly lower taxes and then maybe we can get our hands on it? Maybe that money will go into the market. Progressives are saying this. Democrats are saying this. Let's keep it on going. Woodrow Wilson says, higher rates of income and profits taxes can be destructive. This is your boy. Better get your boy in check, unless, of course, he's right. High taxes can be destructive of business activity and productive of waste and efficiency. So high taxes destroy business activity and they produce waste and inefficiency. Take it from your guy. He's saying it. And we've got the numbers. And I'll continue to hammer you with these numbers. These are the Democrats. These are the progressives that knew this. This was maybe once upon a time before they let their before they let their ideology cloud their judgment. We're talking about Woodrow Wilson here, and we're talking about ideology clouding his judgment. But he could at least look at the numbers on the page and say, we've raised the taxes and we're not generating any revenue. Maybe we should lower the taxes, and that could possibly generate revenue. Yeah, that's how it works. High rates of income and profit taxes discourage energy, remove the incentive to new enterprise, and produce industrial stagnation and consequent unemployment and other attendant evils. If you tax people too much, namely the investors, they're not going to invest. They're not going to put the money into the market, into new enterprises. And if there's not money going into the market, into new enterprises, industry stagnates. And when industry stagnates, people lose their jobs. So maybe we lower the taxes, convince the investors, bring your money back home, and industry grows again and jobs grow again. It's really not that complicated if you can step out of your ideology. Proponents of tax rates, as review, all they ever said was, look, all we've ever said, the people that say, hey, we should lower taxes. If you lower taxes, it could change the behavior of investors. If you tax these investors less, they will spend their money in the market. That will help the market, but that can also generate government revenue. No, we get government revenue by taxing them more. No, you don't. When you tax them more, they hide it from the government. The proponents of these tax cuts, like I just said, never said anything about trickle down. They never said anything about prosperity. Once again, all they said was lower taxes is going to change behavior. Likely will increase market output. It will likely lead to more government revenue. But we're not talking about trickle down. And this is the Republicans and the Democrats, the proponents, Woodrow Wilson, the progressives, John F. Kennedy, the people that were for the tax cuts. Now today, we strawman the people that are for the tax cuts. Back then, they weren't. They never said any of this trickle-down stuff. None of this nonsense was ever made up. This strawman didn't exist. They understood how it worked. They understood the reasoning behind the tax cuts. They didn't try to attribute a caricature of the explanation. They're not trying to create any of this. And we're not trying to today when people are arguing for tax cuts. They're not trying to create trickle-down. Not happening. They're trying to increase economic output. You do that by allowing people to keep more of their money, to spend more of their money, and that money goes into the market. It increases market output. And the government actually, in the end, will get their hands on more government revenue, and we'll show you the exact figures in a later session of this video. Let's look at Silent Cow, President Coolidge, who follows Woodrow Wilson's administration. Well, he's a little bit after. He gets how this works. He knows how this works. He gets it. Taxes are for generating government revenue. Lowering them, raising them, it's all about generating revenue. It's not about stealing from the rich. It's not about punishing the rich. It's about what is the best way to generate the most amount of revenue to help the government do its job. We are not raising rates or lowering rates to create trickle-down nonsense. We never said that. We're doing it to generate revenue and to help the market. But mainly when the government approaches it, we want to generate revenue. So when the government designs taxes, they're doing this to generate government revenue. Now that could be raising rates. That could mean lowering rates. But as Coolidge sees it, and as Wilson sees it, and as all Democrats and liberals saw it with the empirical evidence and the data, it was clear that, oh yeah, if we actually want to increase government revenue, if we want to get our hands on some of this money, we're going to have to lower the tax rate. Otherwise, we'll never see the money. It will remain hidden. It will remain in tax-exempt municipality bonds or in offshore banks or in other tax evasive places. Coolidge gets it. He understands. You're all jelly. You see these rich people, it's not fair. They've got all this money. They need to pay their fair share of taxes. Get it. You want to stick it to them. Coolidge gets it. You want to stick it to the man, or at least make them pay for it because they can afford it. Right? Even if you're not resentful, even if you're not jealous, you can at least understand they've got more money. They can afford to pay more. Cal gets it. He does, right? You don't have much. You shouldn't have to. They can afford it. Make them pay. But that's not the way it works. You think that you can either A, jack it up on them because you're resentful, or you want some sort of redistributive policy, or B, you're a little nicer and you just think like, hey, they got more to spend. You can make them pay more. But that's not the way it works. If you raise the tax rates, they're going to take their money and they're going to put it in tax exempt locations. And so you never are going to get that money. And in the end, the only person that's going to pay the taxes, the people that bear the load, according to Calvin Coolidge, it's going to be you. You can raise the taxes as high as you want, and you can pretend that you are punishing the rich and you are sticking it to them, but they're not really paying taxes. The only people really paying taxes are you. So enough of the game. Let's stop playing. What we need to do is lower the tax rates. And Cal says if we lower the rates, guess what? They'll take their money out of the bonds. Well, they won't put them into future bonds. They'll take them out of tax-exempt locations, they'll put them into the marketplace where they can take the risk, gain the reward, and not have to forfeit too much through taxes. And in that way, helps the market, but also now finally the government can get their hands on some of this revenue. And hey, guess what? When we lower the rates, you're going to pay less as well. So hey, it's a great idea. If we jack up the rates, they're never going to pay, and you are going to be the only one. John Maynard Keynes, again, Democrats, this is your boy. This is your guy. This is your God. This is your economics God. This is your deficit God. This is your New Deal progressive government spending powerhouse, okay? This is the guy. And what did your guy say? You know, this is going to hurt. So some people, I'm like, I'm out of here. I can't hear this. I got to swallow some blue pills. I can't take it. Don't do it to me. Don't red pill me. John Maynard Keynes says taxation may be so high as to defeat its object, that given sufficient time to gather the fruits, a reduction of taxation will run a better chance than an increase of balancing the budget. You raise taxes, you never get your hand on the taxes. You never get the revenue to pay the budget. You lower taxes, the money comes back out, the money gets spent. You can actually get your hands, the government can get their hands on the money, and with that revenue, they can balance the budget. It's John Maynard Keynes saying this. This is not Milton Friedman. This is not Ludwig von Mises. This is not Murray Rothbard. It's not even Thomas Sowell. It's not Walter E. Williams. It's the most liberal, the example of a Democrat, economic. I mean, who else is there? And he is telling you, lower the taxes. Okay, well, how about this guy? You ever heard of him? He's kind of one of the guys you think of when you think of Democrats. Like, I'm making this point, or Sowell makes this point, because today it's mainly the Democrats saying, oh, if you lower taxes, it's just going to help the rich, and they've made up this nonsense scheme. What happened, Democrats? And we'll talk about that in a later video. What happened to you? You used to believe in this. You used to believe in facts and science and reasoning. Can't you go back to this? So, and Kennedy gets it. Kennedy absolutely gets it. It is a paradoxical truth that tax rates are too high today and the tax revenues are too low. And the soundest way to raise revenues in the long run is to cut the rates. He gets it. It sounds weird, right? We raise taxes and we'll get more. But no, because when you raise taxes, the money gets hidden. If you lower the taxes, the money comes out and you can actually get your hands on it. He gets it. Democrats used to get it. And I think most of you get it now. You just need to slap yourself in the face and say, yeah, that's right. Like, okay, fine, I get it. Just stop looking at it as, but we're letting the rich people get off easy. You got to get over that. You got to stop being so resentful. You got to stop being so jealous, you Marxist fool. You got to get past it. This is how it works. This is how it works. Oh, but well, maybe we can change. We'll get to that too. And they're like, well, maybe we should just get rid of these tax exemptions. Oh, we'll get to that in a bit. Don't worry. He's saying the tax rates are too high, and so the government revenue is down low. If we actually do the opposite, as paradoxical as it is, this is the way it works, folks. It's the way that it works. And so not only will this increase government revenue, but it also will bring money back into the market. That money gets spent in the market, which is more efficient and less wasteful than the government. Oh, but the market can be, yes, the market can be inefficient, and there can be bad actors, and they can be wasteful. But they are nothing compared to the public sector, and you know that. And if you don't know that, then you're not what that person that doesn't know that's not watching this video. This was because investors' efforts to avoid tax liabilities make certain types of less productive activity more profitable than other more valuable undertakings. And this inhibits our growth and efficiency. The high taxes cause them to do something different. The high taxes scare the investors out of the market and to less productive activities. What are those less productive activities? They pull their money out of the market and they put it in municipal bonds. This is Kennedy basically saying, we've got to lower taxes because you fools, or not you fools, the investors are just throwing their money into guaranteed tax-free places like roads, hospitals, bridges, municipal bonds. It doesn't work. It's not efficient. This is Kennedy saying this. This is a Democrat arguing against these public programs. Maybe not, he's not against them. He's against putting too much money into these programs. We need money in the market. See, probably, finally, we are reaching the point, okay, it makes sense. Paradoxical, as Kennedy said, but when you raise the rates, the money gets hidden, the government never gets their hands on anything, and so revenue will actually drop. But if the government lowers tax rates, the money will be spent, it will get invested, and the government can actually get their hands on it, and it will increase government revenue. So you're probably saying to yourself, all right, yeah, you are right. I didn't believe you at first. I didn't believe you in video 1. You got me coming around in video 2. Probably in video 3, we'll knock this thing out of the park, and I will turn into an Austro-libertarian. Maybe not that quite that far. Maybe we won't get you into an ANCAP just yet. But either way, you get it. You got to lower taxes. Raising taxes on the rich doesn't work. But then you start to say, but so where did all this trickle-down stuff come from? No one, Wilson wasn't talking about it. Kennedy wasn't talking about it. The Republicans weren't talking about it. The Democrats weren't talking about it. Where did this nonsense come from? It makes sense. It's weird at first, but once you get your head around, like, okay, it's good. Why is this a problem today? Why is this so hard to convince people of? We will get to that in the next video. Check out video 3 of increasing taxes on the rich does not work. Hopefully that will be the last in the series. This is Thomas Sowell explained visually. If you want other videos on American History 1, the entire American History 2 catalog, the entire Civics and Economics catalog, I've also got quick lessons from books, all done so in about 15-minute clips and explained visually to help learners of all levels and students to lifelong learners. Please do me a favor, mash that subscribe button, as they say. Hit the like button. Share this video with your leftist, progressive, liberal friends and say, see, John Kennedy said lower taxes on the rich. See, John Maynard Keynes said lower the taxes on the rich. Woodrow Wilson and the progressives said lower the taxes on the rich. Check out the book. It's only 13 pages. It's free, tinyurl.com/TS tax cuts. The information is below. Also check out youtube.com/social studies games, socialstudiesgames.net. Like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Hopefully I'm helping you out. Again, I could care less about whether the rich can keep their money or not. All I care about is that you understand how the system works and that we follow the rules correctly and make good choices. I could care less about taxing the rich and trying to, well, taxation's theft. We'll just end there, right? If you want my honest opinion, taxation is theft.